Hey folks, so here's what we're doing today in class. So for homework, you read The Gender Book, which is a fun little comic. And what I want you to do is to just take a moment and to refresh yourself on the reading. In particular, I want you to pay attention to how the authors describe the difference between sex, gender, gender identity, and gender expression. Actually, there should also be in there sex, sexuality, my bad. So sex, sexuality, gender identity, and gender expression, okay? So pay attention to how they define those concepts. This is a queer theory class, and so many of you have already taken queer theory classes, and so I don't want to spend a lot of time on introductory material because that would probably be a little bit irritating for folks who have been taking more advanced classes, but I also want to make sure that folks who are maybe not familiar with those things still have a sort of key grasp on the distinction between those terms so that we're all on the same, we all got the same toolkit when it comes to sort of talking about those things, right? Because sometimes inexperienced people can collapse those things, right? Because someone can be gender nonconforming and be cisgender and straight, right? Does that sort of make sense? So just sort of keep those things in mind, that those things don't always go together. And so we really want to make sure that we understand those types of things, okay? So you're going to pay attention to those things, and then to kind of really drive that point home, the next thing that I ask you to do is to visualize those concepts by creating, like grabbing some pens and pencils, or some colored pencils, anything you want really, and then actually drawing a visual representation that shows the distinction between those concepts that I mentioned, right? So like really kind of visualize that. Now obviously the comic book gives you like a really good idea of how to visualize that too, but you want to be really specific in terms of like visualizing those distinctions. So it's okay to draw like little mini doodles of the distinctions between orientation and gender expression and gender identity and sex, right? So just kind of keep that in mind. All right, so that's what we're doing. And then once you have created that drawing, you're going to want to prepare for discussion. So after you've done that drawing, and that should probably take, I don't know, maybe 25 minutes or so to do that first part of class, then we're going to head on over to the last thing we're doing in class, which is that discussion. So you've got your drawing done. You're going to basically reflect on your biggest takeaway from reading the gender book, and try to be specific with the biggest takeaways, right? Because it kind of shows that you're engaging with the material. And so just say, this is specifically my biggest takeaway from the book. I really appreciated this particular phrase that they used, or I loved this visual. It really clarified things for me. Like one of my favorite visuals in the gender book is where they talk about gender as like a planet. So like I might, for instance, talk about that, right? So like, I love this, and I might sort of explain that I really love this visual that they used to talk about like gender as a planet, and that it was really helpful for me because it helped me, talk about X, Y, and Z. Or I might be like, as a non-binary person, I mean, I like this, but the whole point is focus on something specific, right? But the idea is just don't be super general, right? Because that sounds like you're phoning it in. So you've got your reflection, you've got your visual that you've created. I want you to like take a picture of your visual. If you're using like paper and pen, that would mean just like grabbing like a camera. Maybe if you've got a camera phone or something, you need to like, take a picture of that, and then upload a picture of your drawing, and then paste in or just type in your 3 to 4 sentence reflection on your takeaways from the gender book. Okay. You're going to do all of that on the Unit 1A Gender Doodle channel right here. And then once you have uploaded your drawing and your reflection, I do want you to read and respond to at least 2 of your classmates' posts. And again, just don't phone it in, right? Because this is a pretty roomy schedule for a reason. And just respond to each other. And then once you're done doing that, you are free to go for the rest of the day. So there's that. For homework, I want you to read Passé's Candy Perfume Girl, Coloring and Fat Bodies. And I want you to practice the active reading model. This is the first time we're doing it. I introduced that assignment in week 1 and, you know, gave you a whole bunch of examples how to do that correctly. So we're going to practice that for homework. All right. So the key thing that I want you to keep in mind is that you have to have read the piece before homework and you have had to do the active reading part of that assignment before you get to class. Okay. And then just do note that, like, if you're one of the first people to read the Candy Perfume Girl piece, there might not be other people's comments in there. So after you like have highlighted what you wanted to highlight and comment on, you know, just kind of maybe do some other homework and then pop back in and then respond to your peers' comments, okay? Also, sometimes Google Drive is a jerk and you might like click on the document and you see the yellow highlighting that shows that your peers have been highlighting in there, but you can't see the comments. You might also notice at the bottom of the screen that it says failed to sync comments. Don't worry, just close out of the document and then come back in. And that usually you'll end up seeing them on the right-hand side there, okay? And then please don't resolve anyone's comments on the piece. And do make sure, I know I shouldn't have to say this, and I'm sure you're wonderful and I shouldn't even worry at all, but do keep in mind the whole thing about like civility and don't like say, just don't engage in things that are hate speech, right? Because that's not fun. And I can't imagine you do that, but just in case, I feel like I have to say that in every class, don't do that. Because, you know, 1, it's shitty, and 2, like you lose out on, you know, points and so forth. So just don't do it. That is it. That's what we're doing in class, and that is the homework. And yeah, let's have a good day.